Chris in San Francisco. I'm starting this daily blog that I'm probably going to maintain every day, hopefully to discuss political news, on YouTube. And I want to do this because I really want to energize young voters to go out and vote. I'm a young voter, and I want others to go out and vote that are my age, they're close to my age, because nowadays young people are just not involved enough in the political process. They really don't vote. In fact, voters from 18 to 25 are among the lowest, post among the lowest numbers in terms of voter turnout. And I want to change that. I want to get people energized. So I want to discuss political news every day and try to be pretty balanced with the news, but at least maintain it in a way that it's friendly and it's that's approachable for young voters, and people can understand and get a sort of a snapshot of what's happening politically, and perhaps encourage people to research, do a little more research, and be an informed voter, not a voter that just goes out and votes without really knowing anything about the candidates, but also being an informed voter and being able to make an informed decision as to who really should represent you in Congress. So, getting off my soapbox, or maybe stepping up a little bit further on it, today I want to discuss the Chamber of Commerce. Now, the Chamber of Commerce is an organization which represents business interests and corporate interests in Washington. It's basically a lobbying organization, and it gets its money from big corporations within the United States generally. And it's been in the news today because it actually spent between Tuesday and today, which is Thursday, $9.3 million on attack ads in 8 Senate races and 22 House races. Now, $9 million, that's a decent amount of money. And in fact, it's the exact same amount of money as what the Chamber of Commerce spent within the whole year, within the past year. They spent $9 million up until Monday, and they spent 9.3 over the past few days. So what's going on? Well, they want to spend $75 million before the end of the election cycle because they want to influence the election, I would assume, in attacking candidates. Now, let's see who they're attacking. They're attacking Democratic candidates. Okay, that's interesting. They're attacking Democratic candidates, and they are attacking them 8 to 1, meaning for every 8 ads that they attack the Democratic candidate, they attack the Republican candidate in 1 ad. Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, they have a right, I guess, to attack whoever they want, right? So why are they in the news? Well, they're in the news because a watchdog group, which monitors corporate interests, has appealed to the IRS to challenge the spending by the Chamber of Commerce, because it seems that the Chamber of Commerce has been actively soliciting monetary donations from overseas, meaning from countries outside of the United States, and companies based outside of the United States, which is, of course, illegal if they take that money and then spend it on U.S. elections. It's illegal for a foreign individual, a non-citizen, and for a foreign company to give money, to donate money to influence an election here in the United States, to give money to a political organization or an organization that directs funds for political purposes in the United States. So we're not really sure what's going on here in the Chamber of Commerce. Now, why is it relevant to us? Well, it's relevant because we need to ask ourselves, why do foreign companies want to influence U.S. elections? Why do foreign individuals want to influence U.S. elections? I don't know. I'm not sure. But perhaps looking at what the Chamber of Commerce has done, what bills they have supported and opposed in the past, we'll be able to sort of, and we'll be able to highlight and perhaps clear up some of these questions. Well, let's see. Over the past year and a half, 2 years, the Chamber of Commerce has really opposed 3 key pieces of legislation, which have been controversial, admittedly. These key pieces of legislation are, of course, the healthcare legislation. The legislation, of course, the revamping of the healthcare system, which the Chamber of Commerce didn't support because it would give competition among insurance companies. Insurance companies could compete across state lines, etc. So that they opposed. They also opposed the financial regulatory system, which would impose tighter regulations on banking practices. So banks couldn't take as high risks. They couldn't really go out with your money and risk it and then perhaps not have the money left to give back to you. The last and most recent piece of legislation they opposed was a piece of legislation that would have gotten rid of tax breaks for companies that ship jobs, American jobs, overseas. The Chamber of Commerce opposed that bill. They wanted to be able to outsource jobs, and I guess that makes sense if you're a corporation. Yes, if jobs are cheaper overseas, okay, well then perhaps we want to outsource them. Is that in the best interest of the American people? I don't think so. Obviously, people, whether they're Republican or Democrat in this country, want jobs to stay here because we want economic growth here and prosperity. Okay, that's understandable. But then what does that have to do with the Republican Party? In the past, the Chamber of Commerce has basically split its spending. It's sort of hedged its bets, given about 50% of the Democrats, 50% of the Republicans. But now it's giving 8-1, spending in favor of the Republicans and attacking the Democrats. So why is it? Well, perhaps it's because the Republicans have sided with the Chamber of Commerce over these past 3 pieces of legislation, even in a piece of legislation that would be politically popular, getting rid of incentives for shipping jobs overseas. But the Republicans, 41 of them, filibustered the bill and thus killed it. The last bill was killed. The previous 2 bills were able to pass, but vast quantities of Republicans, in fact most of them, voted against those bills. So, okay, so now you see why the Chamber of Commerce supports Republicans, and that's acceptable. But you wonder, now that Republicans are benefiting from the Chamber of Commerce, and perhaps they're benefiting from foreign investment, from foreign companies giving money to the Chamber of Commerce, which will then help Republicans get elected, you wonder who the Republicans will owe. Now, I'm not saying that the Republicans will continue their pattern of voting with corporate interests and voting with big business against what would be beneficial to the American people, including an expansion of healthcare coverage, banking regulations that will protect American savings, and also regulation that would protect American jobs by preventing them from being shipped overseas. I'm not saying that they'll continue doing that, though that's what they've been doing in the past. But I am saying that we need to watch out. We need to really watch and see what they do. I am not comfortable really seeing their previous actions. I'm not comfortable with the spending by the Chamber of Commerce. And in fact, the IRS is currently investigating several other 527s nonprofit organizations that have been spending money in the election. Again, 8-1 in favor of Republicans, and they're investigating them to see if indeed foreign donors are contributing or if donations are not properly scrutinized. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. I'm not saying that the Republicans are wholly at fault. What I'm saying is that it's questionable. Why would these people be supporting them? Well, because they're advancing their interests. They're a lobbying group. Okay, so the Republicans are advancing these bills against what perhaps is in the best interest of the American worker. All right, well, we need to decide what we think is best. And I'm not saying to go vote Democratic based on this, but this is an interesting piece. And, get it more involved in the political process. See how this story unfolds. See what happens in the coming days. See if greater amounts of money are spent by these organizations. And see if foreign companies are in fact influencing elections here in the United States. Hopefully this means that perhaps the Democrats are not being bought out, which means that if the Democrats hold on to their control, who knows? Maybe they don't owe anything to the lobbyists anymore, which they have in the past. I mean, 50%, of the money has gone into the Democrats. I'm not saying that the Democrats are completely guiltless. In fact, a lot of the Democrats, especially in the health insurance bill, it was watered down because insurance companies were so opposed to it. They cut deals with them. But I'm saying that hopefully, maybe, if the Democrats now, in this case, are not tied so much to the lobbying industry for getting reelected, perhaps, maybe they will be free from this lobbying. Maybe they won't be completely owned by these lobbyists. One can only hope. Well, stay tuned for the next insert of my political blog and rant. Hopefully everything will go well. Have a good week. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow.